On Tuesday, December 1st through Saturday, December 5th, the Central Connecticut State University Theater Department put on the play A Man Who Came to Dinner in the Black Box Theater of Maloney Hall. Even after difficult schedule changes, the college students were able to complete the dramatic comedy in a short span of a few weeks. Set in the 1930s, hundreds of audience members throughout each of the show nights were taken back in time as they enjoyed the scenery, props, and witty characters. Tom Dalventhal, who's been working at Central as a theater professor for over 18 years, directed A Man Who Came to Dinner. Dalventhal said he really wanted to choose a friendly and entertaining show. With broad sketches and broad characters, Dalventhal says this situational comedy is fun for both families and students.
That it was made in 1939, so there's always been a bookmark there for me, and so when I really started to research this show and I realized that it was on Broadway in 39 and all of the character references, all of the pop culture references, the politicians, the entertainers, the writers that are mentioned in this show, I've had a great time looking them all up and learning about that time in history.
So my role, I pretty much get in before the show starts, a couple hours before, and I just unlock everything if it's not unlocked. Make sure that all the props are together and that we know where everything is. Take care of like the set dressings that the designer would like to be put in place, and just make sure everything's in order and that all of the actors are aware of where their props are. If we preset them, we let them know beforehand. If there's food props, now would be a time to check the food props and set them before we use them in the show.
I developed my character really slowly. Like, I analyzed the lines and I tried to put myself into their shoes of how this doctor would feel if he had a chance, if she had a chance not to be a doctor, you know, if she wanted to be something greater and be a writer.
And Harpo Marx was the specific Marx brother that my character was based off of, who was actually silent in every single one of his films, and he used a lot of props a lot of the time. So I had to think to myself what props would make sense with these lines, like relying on like a lot of physical comedy with the props and something a little more slapstick. The voice I just sort of developed just because I kind of figured he'd be from New York, and he's kind of has that like nasally kind of New York sound. Hey, I'm gonna knock you in next Tuesday, see? Like that kind of fun New York-y quality.
I really love the scene between the doctor and Sherry when Simone, who's playing Dr. Bradley, drops all those x-rays all over the ground, because I wasn't sure what Dr. Bradley was going to look like, especially as a woman. It's written as a man. Working with college students is wonderful because they're right on the cusp of life, and for the most part their parents leave them alone, and so they are actively and aggressively figuring out what they want their life to be.
It was amazing working with Tom. I loved working with Tom. Every time I was in his presence, I was learning something new. Like, he didn't even have to be talking directly to me. He would be talking to someone else, and I would just hear little bits and pieces. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Let me see if I could try that. And it was just a learning experience every day.
Tom is definitely a character. It's never a dull moment in rehearsal. He always kept rehearsal interesting. We kept going and moving, and we just brought the show together.
I think the show went really well. I mean, there were a lot of great actors. The costumes were great. The sets were phenomenal. I really liked it.
Part of the show, it's really cliche, but all of it, like, I can't pick a favorite part. It was so phenomenal.
It went really well. The cast was really close, and they did a really good job. You really almost felt like you were sitting in the room completely spying on all these people's personal affairs. It was pretty good.
After completing their last night show, the cast and crew can relax with ease, knowing that they put on a stellar performance.